Okay, so that is unfortunately Congressman Madison Cawthorn being asked about those who were arrested following their participation in the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. And he says that they are political hostages. Hostages. It seems like it has a specific definition. He doesn't really expand on it, but he knows his audience. We got to give him that, Wosny. He knows what those people in that crowd want to hear. And we're gonna give you in a little bit some of what he was saying about those who participated on January 6th in the immediate aftermath of it. But that was a long time ago. Now it's all about, yes, it is political persecution. These are political prisoners. Wosny, I know that you have a long history of talking about actual political prisoners in a number of other countries. Are there any differences with what we're seeing with those arrested after the 6th?
I think there's some slight differences in the sense that it's not like Joe Biden ordered these people to be arrested for just being in opposition to his presidency. These people attacked police officers with spiked baseball bats, right? Like crimes were actually committed by these people. A political prisoner is just somebody who opposes the ruling party and therefore is put in jail. Like that's not what happened here. People like this clown congressman get to oppose Biden's presidency, get to oppose its legitimacy on radio and print, on TV, wherever the hell he chooses to, and nobody's gonna lock him up, right? Because that's just the reality of the country that we live in. However, when you attack police officers, when you break into a government building and damage property, yeah, you might go to jail for that. That's just normal rule of law stuff. This has nothing to do with of being a political prisoner. That's absurd.
Yeah, and it's not like suspiciously hundreds of these people were found to have shoplifted in their hometown or something, and now they're all in DC being held. Like they were all doing very visible crimes. They were filming their crimes. They were very happy with the crimes they were criming. Like it's all there. Like that's not what political prisoners are about. Like, man, they really love to make light of serious topics, and they really, really love being victims. But anyway, Madison Cawthorn is an empty shell. He's just telling them what they want to hear, but he does have a little bit more that they want to hear. So I understand that the audio is a little bit rough here, but really try to pay attention because this is some crazy stuff.
The big problem is we don't actually know where all the political prisoners are. And so if we were to actually be able to go and try and bust them out, and let me tell you, the reason why they've taken these political prisoners is because they're trying to make an example. To say, because they don't want to see the mass protests going on in Washington. They don't want to see people redressing their government for leaving 13 Marines to die in Afghanistan.
When are you going to call us to Washington again?
We're actually working on that one. I don't have an answer to that one right yet. But ma'am, we are actually working on this. We have a few plans in motion I can't make public right now. But this is something that we're working on. There are a lot of Republicans who don't want to talk about this because they say, oh, that's too controversial.
Okay, so I know it was a little bit hard to hear what that question was, but it was, when are you calling us back to DC? Like we had fun in that round. We want to do it again. And the response from Madison Cawthorn, elected representative, was, we have active plans we're working on. I can't give you the details. Question was, when are you calling us back? And that's what he had to say. We're gonna have more of his commentary, but Wosny, let's focus on that yet. That they are eager, whether he is eager for a second round of January 6th. That's what his fans want. And he did not tell them, no, that was a dark day, a dark moment. Let's not do that again. He told them we have active plans we're working on.
Well, he seems like a guy who understands what direction the winds are blowing amongst the constituency of the Republican Party. And so, these guys, it is the tail wagging the dog here when it comes to the Republican base and their elected officials. These guys basically will pander to this, what used to be considered the quote unquote lunatic fringe, which is just now mainstream Republican political figures. These guys will pander to that fringe or that mainstream, if you will, at every turn. We saw it the other day when Donald Trump was like, yo, I got the jab, like people should get it. And then the crowd turned against him and he cowered immediately. That's no different from what you're seeing from this Cawthorn clown. Like he's gonna tell them the rubes exactly what they want to hear. And he's such a weasel. You can see him sort of, his palms are getting sweaty and he's rubbing his thigh because he's like, Jesus, I'm just coming up with all kinds of lies as I go on here. Not that anybody's gonna fact check me, but he's whenever, the greatest tell is like, I can't speak on it, but I'm working on it. Oh, it's in the works, trust me. But I just can't get, I can't give you any details. It's still top secret, but it's in the works, believe me.
Yeah. When I get asked if I've done my my company goals for the year, it's like I can't speak on it, but I have active plans. I'll be telling you later on. But anyway, look, you heard the question, you heard the answer. Now you hear the cover. This is his office putting out a statement. Congressman Cawthorn was referring to actively working on getting answers about political prisoners following January 6th. Nothing else. He wants due process for the prisoners and does not believe that's what they're currently receiving. Okay, except that is not the question that was asked, and that's not what he was talking about. You're a liar, but good try. That's your job. Anyway, the stuff that he said there was bad, but he went on to say worse things. So Daniel Dale, who had the unenviable job of fact checking and real time Trump speeches over the last 4 years, put up a quote from him. If our election systems continue to be rigged, continue to be stolen, then it's gonna lead to one place, and that's bloodshed. And I will tell you, as much as I am willing to defend our liberty at all costs, there's nothing that I would dread doing more than having to pick up arms against a fellow American. And the way that we can have recourse against that is if we all passionately demand that we have election security in all 50 states. So the election security is the stopping people from voting. Now, obviously, there's an issue there with the bloodshed stuff, but don't worry, his office has another statement. Cawthorn is clearly advocating for violence not to occur over election integrity questions. He fears others would erroneously choose that route and strongly states that election integrity issues should be resolved peacefully and never through violence. Well, what are you talking about? He said it's inevitably gonna lead in that direction and he would dread it, but he would be willing to defend our liberty at all costs. So Ozzy, that sounds like a guy who, I mean, it may not be his first choice, but it doesn't seem impossible from his point of view.
Well, when your base is such that they can take your words and repurpose them for whatever they feel or want you to have said, it kind of doesn't matter what this dude says, right? Like he can say anything and those people will internalize it as we're under attack, the country's changing too rapidly, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not, like I don't wanna take responsibility away from this guy, but it's not like if he came out and said something that was completely normal or milquetoast that his constituency wouldn't have some crazy reaction to it. That's the nature of what they do. I think the saddest part about all of this is that there will be no recrimination for this amongst his party. There's no price to pay for being this reckless and stupid and just deranged. There's no price to pay. In fact, you're incentivized to behave this way in today's Republican Party. So, the guy's technically doing his job, believe it or not.
Yeah, basically, you're, as a representative, what are you supposed to do? Well, for the most part, and especially on the right, you're just supposed to be some Twitter troll, basically. You're supposed to be, that's it, that's all they want. He's doing what he can, he can always point to like, hey, I'm not as crazy as Marjorie Greene, honestly. So like if they're not doing anything to her, what are they gonna do to Madison Cawthorn? But here's the thing. And this really gets to the point Wosny is making about him knowing his audience and the cowardice. You might think, okay, Madison Cawthorn's a crazy guy. He's always been a crazy guy. So why are you surprised by this? But the thing is, like a lot of Republicans in the immediate aftermath of January 6th, this is not the way that he was talking about it. Like you saw, Kevin McCarthy was criticizing Trump and Mitch McConnell was saying Trump is directly responsible. And they were worried about what the reaction would be from the media, from the parties, from the country at large. The issue is that America sucks. So the reaction wasn't really that negative against January 6th. And thus the backtracking began. And I want to demonstrate the backtracking. So you've seen what Madison Cawthorn is saying now. Here is what he said on January 11th. So less than a week after the attack, he said, I think we all have a lesson to learn. As the Bible says, a rudder can move a ship. Your tongue can affect great change. I was telling that crowd, because he spoke that morning, I'm going to fight for you. Your voice is being heard. I'm going to affect change on your behalf. We've slid back our movement years and years. We've lost years of progress. It's a sad state of affairs. The Republican Party is leaderless right now. It's very fluid trying to figure out what it is. My heart hurts for where the country is at just to see people with American flags and Trump flags, people who I normally associate with, storming our Capitol. It's sickening and infuriating. And though he said that the majority of the crowd was peaceful, he blasted the violent mob as weak-minded and pathetic, and said they lacked the self-discipline to check their own anger and rage. I think when the president said, we're gonna march down to the Capitol and I'm gonna march with you, that was a major mistake. He never should have directed that crowd toward the Capitol. The bad outcome was destined at that point. So he doesn't say, as some did, Trump did this, except that he does say that without saying it. And he said that the people who did it were violent, pathetic, weak-minded, had no self-discipline. And then he waited a couple weeks and he realized, oh wait, that's all of you? Well, you're great. I have active plans to get you back to DC to do it again. How cowardly is that, Wosny, to make that shift after watching, where the winds were blowing for his party?
It's political expediency. Obviously, he had a visceral reaction if his words were to be believed in real time, because guess what? That's where he works. He's like, I could have been one of those people getting socked over the head with a spiked baseball bat, right? So in the immediacy of it all, of course he was scared and frightened and called those people cowards. But now that he has a safe remove from the events of January 6th, and he can now talk tough, he can pretend that he was all for it. But in the moment, while his office was being attacked, he was scared, out of his pants.
Yeah, he talked about, he said in an interview, he was worried that Congress people would be killed. And you know what? He should have been worried about that. It was scary and they might have been. But now he's not so scared. He's not worried about that. I mean, partially maybe he's been reassured that he's not one of those they'd be coming for. But anyway, like he's the spokesperson saying he's against violence and all that. Well, then, okay, when he was asked about being called back to DC, why didn't he tell them, hey, I just want to be very clear here. I'm all for people protesting and having their voices heard. But as I made clear a week after after January 6th, there's no place for violence. It will never be justified. Where's that? Where's the strength? There's no strength. It's wishy-washy. If you guys want democracy, okay, I'll try for that. If you guys want to kill all of our political opponents, I'm gonna try to appeal to all of you crazies too. It's pathetic, and as Wosny said, there's not gonna be consequences. You can do all of this. He hasn't even made the most violent comments, and there's no consequences for it whatsoever left in America. Any final thoughts?
I mean, look, I would just tell the audience to expect more of this, right? It used to be the case where serious Republicans like Mitt Romney and John McCain and all of these sort of establishment Republicans could sort of pay lip service and even dog whistle to a certain extent to the fringe, basically the animating force of that party, the energy of the party. They never had to address them directly. They could be like, yeah, we got you. Racism, xenophobia, yeah, I know, God bothering. Yeah, we're gonna do all of that. Yeah, we get it. And sort of, shoo them away. These guys were at the periphery of the power center, but nowadays they're firmly in the driver's seat of the power center of the Republican Party. And so I would tell people that you can expect more of this. This is just the new normal for the Republicans.
I fear that you're 100% right. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.